What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked In Sports Podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me today, as he does every single week for our MLB podcast, got a fun one planned today. Luis, how you doing?
First off, I'd like to open up my monologue, the glorious monologue that all y'all wait a week to hear. I would like to give a happy Mother's Day. I know I ended that, but yesterday was Mother's Day. I'd like to give a big shout out to all the moms out there. Give it a round of applause.
Shout out
all the moms, because without moms, we'd all be screwed in this world, possibly. The great women of the world that help us reach our goals, reach our dreams, give us the ability to keep going. And, for most of us, moms are like, they would take us to Little League practice, to school, they cooked for us. Like they are the foundation of the family establishment here in the United States. So shout out to all the moms. Shout out to all the pet moms, all the moms, Make sure you say what's up and make sure you take the time out to say thank you to moms. And that was yesterday. And how have you been? Hope you had a good Mother's Day. I know we weren't live last night.
Yeah. I mean, Mother's Day was good. Obviously, we don't live in the same city as our mothers right now, so gave her a call, but wasn't able to see her. They just got back from a Europe trip. My parents are empty nesters, so they kind of just do whatever they want at this point. I feel like
that's a bomb. Like that's fucking lit, man. Sorry for the language, but like that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can wait for retirement, but it does sound pretty nice. So they got back on Saturday night, and just gave her a call. James is going back, my brother, for a week or so here soon. So he's finishing up his junior year of college. So
there you go. Yeah. Also another opening monologue. Shout out to all the graduates. We had a lot of graduations this weekend. We had a bunch of people who graduate professional schools, lawyers, doctorates, masters, undergrad. Hey, clap it up. Congratulations. I know University of Miami just graduated this weekend. I had all the traffic. I know the supermarket looks great because there's nobody in the supermarket anymore. I don't have to deal with all the kids on Friday nights trying to pick up their pizza and beer. So, clap it up.
I will say May is a good month. It was always kind of been one of my favorite months of the year. We got Mother's Day, obviously. My mom's birthday is in May as well. The weather is finally nice. Usually, like when we were growing up, that's when we were getting out of school and the summer was starting. You have Memorial Day weekend. It's not too hot yet, especially when we were growing up in Memphis. Baseball's going on, NBA playoffs. It's honestly, May is probably. I say it's my favorite month of the year, and I stand by that. I mean, it's a great month.
Probably the last rounds of golf that you're hitting up right now before it starts being scorching heat, before you start sweating gallons of sweat out there on the golf course.
At least in Memphis, yes. Not up here in Chicago. It's not as bad. But I'm not playing as much golf this summer because I'm training for the marathon. So
here is unbearable. Here is for the first weekend. I was outside working out Saturday, and it was a nice scorching 100 degrees outside.
Couldn't be a pod without us talking about weather. Now 100 does sound pretty brutal, and it is humid there. So
it is humid, but hey, I do thank the Lord for shade and for trees, man. We got to stop chopping down those trees, man. We got to stop deforestation. I know this pod is taking the turn for the political side, but that's as far as political as we're going to get today.
Yeah. So fun one. I mean, we're going to be talking about each team today. So. And basically where they're trending. So it gives us a chance to talk about pretty much everything that's been happening in the league over the last week. Because we're at the quarter or so mark of the season, midway through May of a 6-month season. So gonna basically take stock of every single team and if they're trending up, if they're trending down, are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? Maybe what they need to pick up at the deadline, some weaknesses, pretty much everything. Obviously, there's 30 teams, so we don't want to make this podcast 2 hours long. So we're going to try to keep it to a minute or two for each team. I'm sure the conversation is going to go longer.
Is that a shot to me? Because I feel like that's going to be like trying.
No,
yeah.
It's just easy to talk about. It's easy to talk about teams for a long time. There's like the Astros that are interesting right now because they've been struggling, and teams like I don't know the Blue Jays. We could do a whole podcast on what the Blue Jays have going on this year, and kind of their disappointing season. And also, we need to talk about just some of the news notes from last week, like the Contreras injury. We got big follow-ups last week.
Can we just start up with the NL Central? Screw it, because I feel like that's just gonna like open up the whole can of worms of like what happened last week. I feel
we can. I had it ordered on the document from worst team to best. I don't know how you want to do it, but the NL Central was fun.
This weekend I watched a lot of NL Central ball, and I tell you, I am a big NL Central fan of just how like baseball, like anything can happen. Anything can happen in these games. These are like European soccer games out in Turkey. Like the game can get abandoned by like the 45th minute because of a flare, or there'll be something happens completely out of the ordinary that the game like will just stop. For example, Saturday, which we'll talk about Saturday's game, it was a 6-2 game, and then it goes 6-6, and it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, and then the game doesn't restart till about 8-9 o'clock. And
this was Pirates Cubs, yes.
Pirates Cubs, and then yesterday's Pirates Cubs, like that whole series was on was on drugs. Like it was on meth, it was on every single drug you can think of. Crocodile, K2, Splice.
All right, we don't need to name them. Thank you.
I've just been studying them, not for that reason, but
studying for the test. Yeah, of course.
I got to know them. But go ahead. We can start about the first team. You want to talk about them, or do I want to talk about it?
I mean, this is your hometown team, but the bottom team, the bottom dwellers of baseball, are of course the Miami Marlins. They're 11-31 at the moment. Just lost a series to the Phillies. They already traded definitely their best hitter, Luis Arraez. They're definitely trending downwards. They're trending, in my opinion, to what could be considered a fire sale. And I think at this point, there's nothing off the table. Like, we got Bendix there, first year. I think he is going to be willing to trade anybody off that team, anybody that can draw any interest from trade, from teams willing to trade. And I think everything's for sale in Miami. That's where they're trending.
Even the tickets are $2, and you can sit and you can get in the stadium for $2. So hey, the 9 for 9 is sounding very, very likely one of these weekends. I'll just pull up for $2 and do the 9 for 9 at the stadium.
The 9 for 9. That is, I don't think I could pull that off, and it's pretty tough. 9 beers, 9 hot dogs, 9 innings. Tough.
Yeah. So back on the Marlins, I mean, they finally won yesterday, but I don't know. Did you see that play last week? I can't remember who it was, but it was the center fielder. Mm-hmm. No, the right fielder. Like, he goes for a pop-up, and I can't remember if it was Sanchez or De La Cruz, but he goes for the pop-up. He lets the pop-up fall, the routine pop-up fall, and then tries to gun him at second. Did you see that play?
I saw it. It was bad. He got pulled, right?
Yeah, he got pulled. I mean, Skip Schumacher's like your next Cardinals manager next year. So this is just like he already has his audition tape. I mean, the bullpen's one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. Like, there's just nothing on this team. When I'm looking at trade candidates, I'm looking at Jazz.
Can I say something about Jazz? He's been better. Last 14 games, 265 average, 2 home runs, 133 WRC plus, and a 0.4 Fangraphs WAR. He's been better over the last couple weeks.
He just needs to go somewhere where he can get nurtured.
Dodgers need an outfielder.
I don't feel like the Dodgers would take him as a character. They have Miguel Rojas. Do you think Jazz fits Miguel Rojas, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Shohei?
Definitely not Rojas. Definitely not Rojas. But Jazz needs to go somewhere where he's not the best player.
Send him to Cincy. I know I always say Cincinnati, but Cincinnati is like, they have non-major league players in that outfield, in my opinion. And why not just put Jazz and Ellie, 2 of the most electric players in baseball? They'll put butts in the seats, and and they have a lot of prospects to give, and they have a top pick in the draft next month. So hey, might as well just surplus of infielders, just do it. I mean, they have one of the best rotations with stuff, and we'll talk about them later. But in regards to the Marlins, you got to get rid of Jazz. Probably the best return you're going to get for him right now. I've been a big De La Cruz guy, Brian De La Cruz. I know I mentioned you a couple weeks ago, Friday afternoon. I was like, hey, he'd make a good outfielder on a team that needs like a little bat, and he's been playing really well. Tanner Scott, I think he's a perfect fit in Baltimore. Low risk, high reward. If it all works out, they need a closer. Kimball's been an abomination. And hey, maybe you can get something for Luzardo or Trevor Rogers as a reclamation project, a lefty team needing a lefty as a 4-hole or a 3-hole guy. So
yeah, I like De La Cruz. I think Josh Bell is also a name that could be traded. He's been put better in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, Marlins fire sale. That's definitely where they're trending. Same thing with the White Sox. They're second to last team in the big leagues right now. 12-29. Got to see them play in person on Saturday night. They're playing the Guardians. They actually won.
They won on Friday too.
Yeah, 4-game winning streak.
Instagram, they won on Friday. I was on somebody's profile. I knew somebody that went to the game, and I was like, oh, they won. So I was like, okay. The Tommy Pham era, I'm telling you, the Tommy Pham era is off to a hot start in Chicago.
Tommy Pham era is off to a hot start, and he's certainly going to be traded. That lineup is, without Robert in the middle of that lineup, it's grim. I mean, Gavin Sheets was hitting 3-hole for them on Saturday night. Yeah, I know, but he's not a 3-hole hitter. Clevenger was on the mound. I mean, Andrew Vaughn can't hit, and Benintendi is such a fall from grace. There's just not much that is there to trade. I guess the big name from Chicago, and I don't think his name's off the table, would be Garrett Crochet, the left-handed starter, really young pitcher from Tennessee. I think they could get a pretty solid return for him. They already traded Cease. Robert needs to get healthy before they trade him. Maybe move on from Eloy and Yon Moncada and kind of just start fresh. And they have a new first year new GM, Chris Getz. So I think they're kind of in the same boat as Miami, just fire sale.
You know what Gavin Sheets to me or Andrew Vaughn, those players, you know what they screamed to me at the deadline?
Mm-hmm. No.
They scream like Tampa players. Tampa or Pittsburgh, one of those two teams. I mean, okay. Tampa's hitting's been awful. And I mean, Pittsburgh, we'll talk about them later. They just need hitting. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're there on the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, there's fun stuff. I mean, with Robert, probably they don't have nothing in the bullpen that I can think of. Maybe Kopech, but I mean, I would tend to think that they would keep all Crochet and keep Kopech. And I would like to think that their future is a Crochet Drew Thorpe. Have you seen Drew Thorpe in the minors? Dude's killing it.
Yeah.
Yankee prospect, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, Robert's definitely, if Robert's name is healthy on the market, he'll definitely get a lot of interest. It's just, the thing is a lot of teams have center field already, locked up.
True. I will say Sox games are fun to go to, so I just wish they were better.
Yeah, I mean, you prefer Sox games or Cubs games?
I mean, definitely Cubs games. But the Sox, you can tell, I've never been to a Sox game when they're good, but you can tell when they're good, that place gets rocking because there's still a decent crowd on Saturday night. I know they kind of struggle to draw crowds in the middle of the week, but I mean, for Saturday night game, decent crowd. And you've seen playoff games there recently. Place does get hopping.
Okay. Next team, Colorado Rockies. They finally won their first series this weekend. They beat Texas. The farm's all right. Their farm's gotten a little bit better. And they just did a market update today, a pipeline update. It definitely got better. But, I can't watch them. I legitimately cannot. I almost fell asleep yesterday watching the Texas game versus Colorado. I almost fell asleep. I couldn't name you more than – and I do MLB podcasts. I couldn't name you more than about 5 Rockies players.
They're terrible. Nolan Jones hasn't been good. Chris Bryant's hurt. The rotation is just not even. Can you even
name one guy out of the rotation?
Yeah, they signed Dakota Hudson.
Yeah, but other than him, but can you actually
they still have Herman Marquez?
But yes,
Ryan Feltner, he's actually pretty good. Ohio State guy.
That's one. But then other than Feltner, who else? Is there anybody else? I don't think he's pitching right now.
I'm pretty sure he is.
I'll look it up. I'm just saying, I can't name you more than 2 or 3 pitchers. I think about Pierce Johnson, but I think he's on the Braves.
He's on the Braves now. They have a really good reliever that I like, Zach Thompson. Not Zach Thompson, Justin Lawrence. I like Justin Lawrence.
That's what I was thinking of. He's like the 61 with the flow. and I think he's from
Yeah,
Memphis
yeah.
as well. He's a local kid.
He's from Memphis?
No, local kid from that's the other one. No, Justin Lawrence is from Panama. I was thinking about Pierce Johnson, which it was the local kid that was a closer last year. He's on the Braves now. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I think this team's cooked. Like this team's beyond cooked. They have the worst future in Major League Baseball.
Maybe would make an argument for the team next, but they have their farm system. Okay, so yeah, you're right. The Pipeline MLB.com released their updated top 100, and they have 6 or 7 top 100 guys: Zach Veen, Sterling Thompson, Jordan Beck, Yanquiel Fernandez,
Jordan Beck's up in the main
Adele Amador,
yeah.
And they also have Dolander, who they finally have a pitching prospect he's in A ball right now. I think he's like a 2.65 ERA or something like that. He's one to watch. Also, I like Brenton Doyle just as the defensive player in center field. But yeah, they're kind of in no man's land. They got to get off Chris Bryant, and I don't really know where that franchise is going right now. They're in their bottom. Just like this next team, the Los Angeles Angels, that I'm calling them the who he play for Angels.
You know what I want to call them right now?
What?
Their last chance you.
That is exactly what they are. Sam Blum had a good article in The Athletic this morning, basically highlighting how their incredibly poor farm system and lack of organizational depth has allowed them to sign and play a bunch of incredibly random players. A lot of them thought that they were out of the league at this point before they got signed by the Angels. Guys like Luis Guillorme, they traded for from the Braves last week. Nico Goodrum, Cole Tucker, who was, yes, offered a coaching job after getting cut from Seattle. Seattle basically cut him from their AAA team. They offered him to coach, and then the Angels ended up scooping him up. Also, Amir Garrett, Hunter Strickland, Kevin Pillar, Willie Calhoun, Carson Fulmer. They had Aaron Hicks. They DFA'd him. Miguel Sano. I mean, it's just a cast of characters. They're so bad. This team is where I'm highlighting, and I think they have the worst future in baseball because they're not going to be able to trade Trout either.
I disagree. I think you can trade Trout. One, I do like Logan O'Hoppe. That's one.
There's one player.
I like they also have a catcher, Edward Carrero. I don't know how to say his name. No, he's in the White Sox.
They traded him to the White Sox, yeah. For I think that was the Giolito trade.
But they got Logan O'Hoppe. Joe Adele is finally showing some promise. I don't know if you've seen his speed numbers, so he's on the rise. Logan Shanwell. I had a conversation about Shanwell last week at the gym. I think he's still a good player. He's one of my guys. Zach Neto. Like, there's things there. You just have to get rid of Trout. And I feel like they have arms. Like, you can trade Tyler Anderson. He hasn't been awful this year. I feel like Tyler Anderson would make a good 3-4 guy in a middle to contending team in a playoff hunt. So, like, there's actual guys. They just don't have any talent other than that. Like, the Rockies just have a bunch of, like, the Rockies and Angels just have mismatched talent. Like, the Angels are literally putting out just MLB journeymen, while the Rockies are just putting up, like, young guys in AAA, like utility guys. Mm-hmm. That's just the difference.
The Angels have some arms that I think they should trade at the deadline, like Patrick Sandoval, that are having decent years. But cast of land of misfit toys in LA right now for sure.
They got Carlos Estevez too. They can trade. He's a closer. I mean, we're gonna see it, like, people forget bullpen arms at the deadline are like what they're like. They're like PlayStation 5s when they come out. Like, if you have a good one, you're gonna have a line across the corner. Like, you're going to have bots trying to pick them up. Everybody's going to want them because, one, I feel like you can never have too much bullpen in the postseason. And a lot of the guys on these bad teams, they're not closers. They're bullpen guys. Mm-hmm. Like, they've just been thrusted upon to be the closer because they're the best of the rest on that team. So when they actually go to a contending team with actual roles and that they have, like, they don't have to be these super closers. So I could totally see, like, Carlos Estevez ending up on a contending team just at the end of the year. Maybe if Tampa gets hot, we see Carlos Estevez goes, because Tampa right now has an abomination of a closures issue. So
yeah, for sure. Next team, Houston Astros, 15-25. We've obviously talked a ton about them on the podcast, so we don't need to go into too much depth. They had a good-ish week. Lost a series to the Yankees, lost 2 of 3, but then they beat the 1-2 out of 3 against the Tigers, and they're only 6.5 back of the Mariners in the AL West. So I'm saying they're not out of it for their current stock report.
And the only thing about I think yesterday was a very good day, because if they if they lost yesterday's game, I feel like we would have been coming on saying they're cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a Verlander turn back the clock game in Detroit to, beat Jack Flaherty, who is looking pretty good.
Yeah, getting a lot of strikeouts. I was looking up their division odds on DraftKings right now, and they're still only plus. You can get them at plus 320 to win the division, which is behind Seattle and Texas right now. But that shows you that DraftKings they're not going to put out a crazy number like plus 800 or plus 1,000. They know that Houston can get it going. I mean, Kyle Tucker leads MLB in home runs. He has 13 home runs right now. Altuve has been struggling this month. Jordan's been struggling. But they're going to get pitching back. And I think they will eventually turn this thing around. And they're lucky that they're not in like the NL East or the American League East, where you have Baltimore or Philly or Atlanta that could have run away with the division at this point, and they're not 13 or 14 games back. They're only 6.5 games back, and I don't think any of the teams in the division are going to be able to run away with it at this point. So they're still not out of it.
It's been the most underwhelming division in my opinion this year. And I just think about the way Kyle Tucker's playing, and I've been a big Kyle Tucker proponent, is he going to get a Soto-esque contract?
He doesn't have the PR team that Soto does, and he's not as good as Soto, but he's a damn good player.
No, he's a better runner.
Yeah,
he's a good glove out there and a good cleanup guy. I just feel like if some guys, and sorry we're getting off track, but I have to get this off my chest. I have to.
All right.
This might take us 5 minutes, but I feel like you gotta highlight this point. You guys have to stop listening to the media. I have this big pet peeve right now where there's these players with huge PR teams that are literally getting fed. Like they're literally feeding the major broadcasting partners of Major League Baseball, and the dudes aren't that good. Like Kyle Tucker's one of those guys, like if he had a PR team, oh my God, like it'd be ridiculous. I'm not going to call out who, but there's just guys I watch and I'm like, this guy just isn't what he's built out to be.
Okay. I think you're right on that. I
just feel like there's just players that just have ridiculous PR teams. Like you said, if Tucker had Soto's PR team, where would be now?
But you're not saying that about Soto. You're not saying Soto's.
I'm not saying about Soto. I'm just saying, for example, guys like I'll be an example. I like Manny Machado, but Manny Machado has been very up and down in seasons. The consistency for me is not there. And people talk about, Manny Machado is this difference maker. What did he do to that Dodgers team? What has he done in San Diego? Yes, he had like that freak month, but like, what has San Diego done in the playoffs?
Beat the Mets in 22, but made the NLCS that year. But he's got a 653 OPS this year. He hasn't been a game changer. Absolutely.
I'm not saying that he's a bad player. Like I believe in his quality of player. I'm just saying that like his PR team is crazy. Carlos Correa is another dude that I feel like, he's a great defender, but like what has he done to the Minnesota team?
Well, I mean, look at what they did last year. They won a playoff series for the first time in forever.
But that team was on fire collectively.
They were, and I think Correa definitely benefits from being on those Astros teams and being in the limelight, in the spotlight, in the bright lights. Every October, year after year after year. He got super famous from that.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there and ask you that question. Who are you taking? And I know there's two things. Rank the core Astros: Alvarez, Tucker, Altuve, and Correa. Rank them, and then are taking Pena or Correa. And we're not going off of like, let's put it this way, we're not going to take them off of off like future. We're just talking like right now.
Oh, we're talking right now player, or are we talking like all-time Astro, like
We're not taking all time because all time. Well, we'll do all time. Screw it. Yeah, we'll take all time.
Doing all time. So
No,
number one's
future,
L2.
not future because we don't want to do future because we already know Pena's a young player that he can still grow. While Correa's a little bit older, there's less to grow.
Yes. So we're saying 20 years from now, we're looking back on it. I'll say, I mean, obviously Altuve is number one. That's not a debate. Number two, I'd probably put Correa. 3, probably Kyle Tucker. 4, Jordan. That's close. Jordan and then 5, I'd put Springer. Is there another one? I think that's it. If you're talking about position players. Oh, yeah. Bregman. Forgot about Bregman.
Yeah, Bregman. I was thinking Bregman.
Altuve, Correa, Tucker. No, Altuve, Correa, Bregman, Tucker, Jordan, Springer. Springer was the first one to leave.
I'm taking Altuve, Jordan, Tucker, Springer, Correa, Bregman.
Wow.
And Bregman's a toss-up because I think Bregman gets a bad rap that his bat has not been, but as a defender, he's been great. And I'm taking Jeremy Pena over like all time.
I'm not taking Pena over Correa in 20 years from now. No.
Yeah, I am.
Right, okay.
He's playing at an all-star level. He's playing at an all-star level right now.
He's had a good year. I think you're certainly maybe on his PR team because he's on your fantasy team.
I haven't gotten the payment yet, you know. I know you were on that PR team last year with the whole Pena hype. Oh, he's Derek Jeter-esque. This man was coming on the podcast saying Jeremy Pena's Derek Jeter-esque. He has the mannerisms.
He does have very similar. Yeah, he has Derek Jeter mannerisms. But we got off topic. Let's go to the next team. We got.
Can I talk about this team?
Yeah, the Cardinals. They're cooked.
Can they fire Ollie Marmol? And I'm not like a proponent of like people losing their jobs, but like, what does this dude do? Please, Skip Schumacher. How many times will I have to come on this podcast and say that Skip Schumacher will be the next manager of the St. Louis Cardinals? Like, they need a rebuild.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my mom, and she's like, "What's wrong with the Cardinals?"
She really did?
My mom was like, "Yeah, but I thought the Cardinals were good, Louise." And my mom barely watches baseball. My mom her baseball knowledge goes to as far as whatever I tell her.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What's wrong with the Cardinals?" And I'm like, "Well, Mom, what happens is sometimes in life you just gotta, walk away from stuff and start over." And that's what they haven't done. Goldschmidt is as cold as ice. Like this man is literally on Antarctica. Like if we're playing a game of that game we played as children, hot and cold.
Sure.
Like when you was like, "Oh, you're getting close, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter." Oh, yeah. Like this dude is standing right next to the beer fridge at this point. Like he's literally inside of the beer fridge at your local freaking beer tavern in the gas station at your local Zitgo or whatchamacallit or Chevron. Like he is in the BP beer tavern.
He's in the beer cooler.
He's in the beer cooler. Nolan Arenado, he has lost all of his power. His bat is just single double mania. Right? It's just line drives. He's
got a 703 OPS for Arenado.
His defense is still there, but it's just like you're paying a guy about 30 to 35 million to be one of those premier players, and he's not playing at the Devers level. I think Devers even makes less than him.
I'm not sure. I know Arenado has 3 or 4 years left. Has a no trade clause on his deal. Goldschmidt's an unrestricted free agent after this year. Goldschmidt's hitting 197 with 3 home runs, 31% strikeout rate with some really ugly swings in there mixed in, and a negative 0.4 WAR. They just lost their best hitter of the year, Willson Contreras. He had 6 home runs with a 1.8 Fangraphs WAR. He got hit with a swing.
You want to talk about that? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What do you think about that? It's causing the debate of catching styles, and I studied catching styles this weekend. The one knee, they have the one knee in the ground and the whatever getting close. And I feel Kevin Cash said it best. I want to hear your opinion. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's an issue that has arisen from kind of this StatCast era we're in, I think, and you have, or the over analytical era where you have catchers getting really close to the plate, as close to the plate as possible to try to steal strikes. Because the further the ball drops, or the further back you are, the more the ball drops, the more likely it is to look like a ball. And so they're trying to steal strikes. And then you have the batter getting as far back to counteract the extremely high velocity that has become so prevalent in the game today. And when you see the side view of Contreras and JD Martinez, it was like, wow, they are on top of each other. And Martinez has a long swing.
Hey, you know that because today, guess what came out?
We did get some new stats.
We got bat speeds and bat lengths. Between that and Roaring Kitty coming back, my Twitter feed has had a field day today.
Yeah, Twitter is always interesting. But yeah, so I think it's a bit of two different philosophies coming to fruition at the same time. You saw Contreras when he was at the Cubs; he was much further back in the plate. Now the Cardinals wanted to get up higher, and he broke his arm as a result. It sucks because he was their best player this year, not particularly close, the only guy that was hitting for them. And I don't know what the immediate fix is. I think maybe you enforce the batter's box rule a little bit more than it currently is. You see guys kind of dig in the plate, and the back part of the batter's box kind of gets rubbed away. And they can move even further back maybe than they're supposed to. I think that would be a short-term fix. Long-term, I've heard things like sensors. I don't to alert if a player's out of the batter's box. But it's dangerous. Luckily, no one else has really gotten hurt as a result of this yet. But I mean, when you see the side angle, it's like, man, they're on top of each other. It's pretty crazy.
But here it is. I've seen a lot of catcher's interference this year. Like more often than not this year. Like I was watching the Yankees game. I forgot who they were playing. It was recently. It wasn't this week. I think it was the week. Who did they play the week before?
We played Baltimore.
Yeah, it was Baltimore. I think it was Baltimore. They played Baltimore, and the weekend series was Detroit.
Yeah,
Detroit. It was Baltimore. I think it was the Baltimore series that I saw one interference, catcher's interference. Like I see it happening at least. Catcher's interference used to be something I'd see once like every month or something. Now I'm seeing it like a couple calls every week. And I mean, maybe how this is counteracted. And Bob Nightingale for USA Today, he's with USA Today, right? Yeah,
so.
He said that whatchamacallit, that God, I'm fumbling words right now, but the robo umps are imminent, 2 years away. I mean, it's in the minors. Maybe that counteracts it. Maybe that's just going to make everybody go back, and it's going to be interesting if that gets implemented. But regardless of the fact, I think the Cardinals just need to trade everything. It's just hard because that team always wants to be competitive, and it's tough for a fan base that has been competitive. But it's just like they haven't produced talent, and everybody who they've brought up, which needs to be an investigation as like a podcast, like how all their prospects they've had haven't really panned out. Jordan Walker is back down in AAA. Dylan Carlson, hasn't been hyped up to what he's been. Nolan Gorman's been awful this year. And then their pitching prospects, Matthew Liberatore, he's not up. Zach Thompson, they literally have to outsource. And I feel like what makes Cardinals teams great, those great Cardinals teams that we grew up with the Pujols, the Yadier Molinas, they were all a bunch of homegrown guys. Now it's just a bunch of mercenaries. In a way, not in a bad way, but it's just a bunch of guys on big deals. Steven Matz, Kyle Gibson, Sonny Gray. And I mean, Sonny Gray is probably going to be the biggest name on the trade block.
Yeah, I think Gray, Lynn, Goldschmidt, Arenado, they're a really good reliever. Ryan Helsley.
I think Helsley will be the best closer. He's been electric this year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends on if the A's want to move Mason Miller, which apparently the asking price right now is really steep. But
or if Helsley doesn't blow, it's a battle against time. Who blows their Tommy John? Unfortunately, not that we wish about it, but
you never know. I guess
it's Hunter Green, which his velo dropped. Do you see that? The Hunter Green velo drop.
Oh, geez.
The velo drop on the fastball. So we'll see. Next team, Pittsburgh Pirates. Oh no. The Cincinnati Reds, they just had a tough breaking news to the pod. I did read that their outfielder, TJ Friedel, fractured his front thumb. and will be sidelined for the next while. So, I mean, that's tough. The Reds, it's pretty much this team goes as far as Ellie De La Cruz goes.
Mm-hmm.
Their bullpen, which they invested in, is awful. And Jaime Candelario hasn't been great. Christian Encarnacion Strand is hurt. Frankie Montas is Frankie Montas. We know what he is. He's not pitching up to Oakland A's Frankie Montas. Lights turned on, and we don't know where he is. And Nick Martinez is just another swing reliever. Swing arm, swing reliever. He's not a 5 guy.
Yeah, they can't hit. They're 1-9 in their last 10. Last in OPS in May with a 576 OPS. Hammer Candelario has been bad. You're right. I mean, it's Ellie De La Cruz and everybody else. Unfortunately, those guys that had really good years, kind of breakout years last year, didn't follow it up this year. And it was something that I was a little bit worried about in the preview. Some really strong regression candidates. It's kind of come to fruition this year. And maybe, I still think their future is bright long-term. Short-term, maybe this year is a bit of a down year. I still think that overall, when you have Ellie De La Cruz as your centerpiece and then the farm system still loaded, they can still be good long-term.
Will Benson, regression candidate. Spencer Steer's doing great. And then Matt McLean won't be back till August. So it's just like they're really hurting. And Jonathan Inman has been awful. Now, my question to you is, what do you do at the deadline? Rapid fire. Do you sell, hold, or buy?
Maybe, obviously, you hold your key pieces. Maybe sell some of the guys that don't fit, like
Heimer.
Yeah, those guys. Maybe they eventually move on from India. Decide to do that this year.
He's been awful though. Like he's non-9 hole.
And that's the thing. So many of those guys have been bad this year that who is going to be intriguing to trade for on the market? They've kind of tanked their value at this point. Next team up is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're not good this year. 18-23 on the year, 10 games back. 18-23 on the year. I said 10 games back with the best record in baseball, but because I'm looking at the standings that way. Obviously got Paul Skeens called up Saturday. We both watched the start, and they have Jared Jones paired with them. So they're struggling now this year, but overall they're trending upwards because they have a positive youth movement going. Skeens look great. I think the command is going to be an issue early, but he has ace level stuff for sure. And Jones is really fun to watch too. So could be a good 1-2 punch, or it could be next trade fodder for Pittsburgh. We'll see how long they're able to these guys.
How do you hit Skeens? Like from a player's approach? Like how do you what do you, are you sitting fastball? Are you sitting and waiting on the fastball and trying to hit the fastball?
It's impossible. Crazy. 101 mile an hour fastball with a wipeout slider, split finger, and then a change. I mean,
it's a splinker. Get it right. A splinker.
So I mean, yeah, he's filthy. He has ace level stuff. It's going to be fun to keep watching him and watching him develop. We'll see if there's an innings limit on him. Seems like they're going to a 6-man rotation. Their general manager didn't commit to an innings limit to him. I think Jared Jones has one this year. So we'll see how much run those guys get. I don't think it's really a question of this year for them. It's certainly a long-term thing. They need some bats. Like, Key Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds are fine, but outside of those guys, there's just not much. O'Neal Cruz has turned it around of late. He's been playing ball, hitting some bombs. So, they're fun. When those guys are pitching. Otherwise, you're probably not going to tune into a Pirates game, but I like the way they're trending for sure.
Skeens is appointment TV. Like I will definitely like watching him pitch Saturday. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. And then you got the MLB's version of Travis and Taylor with Livy and Paul.
They're really pushing it, man. They're really, really pushing that.
Did you see the interview?
She's just not Taylor Swift, so it's just not going to be that. She is really famous and popular, just not amongst all the demographics that Taylor Swift is.
The funniest thing about Libby was like I just don't know what she was like. I don't know what they wanted her like to say when she was doing the interview. I don't know if you watched the interview.
I didn't see the interview.
They were asking him, "How do you feel about his interview? Like you guys have been together." It's just like crazy. They're not even married. Like, what if they break up tomorrow?
I mean, they haven't been dating for that long.
So yeah, I'll definitely tune in, see the team. I know I'm taking this off Twitter, but see the Timu version of Travis and Taylor in MLB fashion.
Timu version. That's funny.
Alibaba version, AliExpress.
Next squad, the Blue Jays. I have them as the core just has not lived up to the hype. They're 18-22. They're losing to, or they're tied up with the Baltimore Orioles right now in the 8th inning. But I'm worried. I'm worried about Vladdy and Bichette as a future moving forward. Their bullpen stinks. They're last in bullpen ERA. Starting pitching, 21st in ERA, and that's with Berrios being really good this year. Hitting wise, 21st in average, 16th in OBP, 23rd in OPS, 25th in home runs. Like they're not good. And I think I've gotten to the point where I don't think it'll happen this year, but they got to move on from one of Bichette, Guerrero, and kind of see what they can get as a return, because I don't think those guys are the future, unfortunately. I just don't think they're as good as they lived up. Their prospect type was.
I think they'll buy at the deadline. That's the craziest thing.
And a lot of people are like, well, there's talent there. They can turn it on. But we've been saying that for like 3 years now.
And that's what I'm saying. I think they'll buy at the deadline, and hopefully maybe they buy one of these center fielders like Robert or Trout or something like that. Like they buy one of these dudes and just try one big last year and a half with it. I mean, Bichette hasn't been great, and the profile doesn't look great, but I mean, they've done so much commitment money-wise, and, they have a great stadium, so I think they're going to buy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they buy. They're not going to give up on this young core this early. Definitely not. But I think they might be the worst team in the American League East this year.
Alek Manoah showed some signs of life. Like he was flatlining until Sunday.
Yeah. Next up, we got the A's. They're 19-23. I have them as pesky.
Why do you have pesky?
Because who would you rather play in a series right now? Toronto or Oakland?
That's really tough. Talent-wise, Toronto can beat you really easily, but Oakland just plays tough. Like they don't back down.
They have a really nasty back half of their bullpen. The top half of the rotation is good. They're leading the entire league in OPS in May. Brent Rooker's been turning it on. JJ Bleday's been turning it on. They're not bad. They're pesky. They're a team you don't want to play.
Whatchamacallit, Brent Rooker's Savant page looks beautiful. I don't know if you've checked it out.
I haven't looked at his Savant page, but he is on my fantasy team, and I was
very happy with that page. No, they look good. I mean, the thing about it is like, what is their ownership going to decide? Is this ownership going to blow it up?
No, because their ownership is saying that they want to start building the team and to actually be good as they move to Sacramento before they move to Las Vegas. So maybe they're going to start building around Brent Rooker, Zach Geloff, maybe keep Mason Miller. Although I think Mason Miller's value might not ever be as high as it currently is. And I wouldn't be disappointed if Oakland traded him, because right now the return for Mason Miller would be really very nice.
I just don't know. So
they're good though. They're pesky. They're not a team you want to play, I think.
I want to talk about one of the most disappointing teams, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Jung-Ho Lee is out for the foreseeable future with a dislocated shoulder. And this team can't hit. Chapman can't hit. The bullpen's great. They have all these like guys with different arm slots that I feel like as a hitter, you can speak about this. Like, how do you even plan an approach to hit a San Francisco reliever? Like they have so many different arm angles, submarine, 3/4. Yeah. They have so many.
The Pen hasn't really performed this year. I mean, 26th in ERA, 19th in WHIP, 28th in hits per 9, 23rd in homers per 9. I mean, it's not good. Those aren't good numbers. And the rotation hasn't been good either. 22nd in ERA, 24th in WHIP, 28th in strikeouts per 9. The lineup is all 17th in average, 21st in OBP and OPS, 21st in home runs. Like the thing with them too is they can't sell. They have to try this year because they gave up international bonus pool money to get Chapman and Snell, and then they also gave up picks to get those guys. So they're kind of stuck. They're 19-23 overall. They're not going to win the division. They're going to be fighting for a wild card spot, but the numbers just aren't there right now. You mentioned they lost Jung-Hoo Lee. Their lineup is not good. It does not strike fear in you at all. Matt Chapman does really good in like metrics wise, but he just hasn't put it together like with stats that actually matter wise. 609 OPS with a 213 average, 5 home runs on the season. Plays great defense, yes, for sure. But Logan West's been okay. He hasn't been Cy Young caliber this year, and Jordan Hicks has arguably been their best pitcher. So this team is just not good, and I don't think they're going to get to 85 wins this year. I don't think they're going to be in it.
I feel they'll be in it. I feel like the NL is such a mess this year that I think they'll still be in it and they'll buy something.
What about this next team, the Diamondbacks? They're in the same situation the Giants are, kind of just middling. I feel personally, and I have them as their stock is they're kind of currently just middling. They're 5-5 in their last 10, 19 and 22 overall. Corbin Carroll's been a little bit better. They got Jordan Montgomery back. I like Arizona more than the Giants. I mean, part of that is because of past performance and what they did last year, but I think they have more talent on that roster. And I think, the rotation's going to be good with Montgomery back. Zach Gallen, Montgomery, Merrill Kelly when he eventually comes back from that shoulder, Erod, like that's a good rotation when healthy. Carroll needs to get it going. Ketel Marte, I think, is arguably the most underrated player in the sport. Eugenio Suarez, Gabriel Moreno. I just think there's a little more talent on Arizona, and I could see them pushing for a wild card spot. I could not see San Francisco doing so this year.
I think San Francisco has more talent, though.
Oh, how?
I like their rotations aren't that off. If you think about it, they're bullpen and rotations. Think about it.
Well, the Diamondbacks haven't had Paul Sewald. He just came back recently. Now Duvall is a good closer for San Francisco.
I prefer Duvall. I prefer Duvall. Logan Webb or Zach Gallen is a push.
Yeah.
Logan, then you got Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, another push.
Okay.
And then Jordan Hicks and Brandon Pfaadt.
I mean, I would say when healthy, Erod would be their 3.
But he's on the 60. He got transferred over to the 60 for the last.
Well, it's because he got hurt in spring training. That's why he's on the 60.
Yeah, but who knows when he's going to come back? So my whole thing is like, and then hitting wise, it's like, okay, you have Corbin Carroll, but what has he been this year?
He's been terrible this year, and he was picked in the first round of our fantasy league too.
Yeah, I was thinking about drafting him too. The Giants have Matt Chapman, which hopefully he can get it going. Maybe he's cooked. Jung Ho started to turn it around before he got hurt. Solaire's hurt, but they had Lamont.
So you're not making the case for the Giants right now.
I feel like it's very. If you put the Giants with Diamondback hitting, I feel it's equal. Like it's just it depends what preference you have. I feel like the Giants are a big move.
I prefer Arizona.
I think the Giants are going to make a big move. I'm just not inspired as to what Arizona has done so far.
Well, the Giants they can't sell, like I said, because they went out.
Neither can Arizona.
And they're not going to. Arizona will they'll be there. Trust me, they'll be there.
They'll be there. That's
Next team is Washington. Next team is Washington. They're 19 and 20. I have them in the A's categories, just being a pesky team. CJ Abrams having a good year. Jesse Winker not been bad. Keeper Ruiz. The pen has actually been solid. Kyle Finnegan tied for first in saves. They're 11th at bullpen ERA. Starting ERA is 15th, middle of the pack. Average is 22nd. Batting average. OBP 14th. OPS 22nd. Stolen bases they're second. So they can swipe some backs. Corbin, Jake Irvin, Mackenzie Gore's been solid for them this year. They're kind of in that same category, in my opinion, as the A's. Is just kind of a team you don't want to see on your schedule. They're 5-5 in their last 10.
Mackenzie Gore, Luis Garcia, second baseman, one of the better second basemen all Major League Baseball this year. Top 4 second baseman according to position rank, and we know how big position rank means in baseball.
Yeah.
He's number 4. So, like I said, there'll be a team that I would like them to just chill. James Woods up soon. Dylan Cruz is right now in the minors, so they got a lot of positive pieces coming back, looking like they won that trade. Let's go around with these next teams. The Mets. What do you think about the Mets? 4-6 in the last 10, 19 and 20. I mean, no bats. They went off a game winner, game walk off with Brandon Nimmo. I mean, they are what they are. I don't think they'll buy or sell. I feel like they're just a sleeping giant waiting for the offseason to buy.
Yeah, I think they're trending toward probably selling those guys they brought in on 1-year deals, like Severino, Bader, maybe a Sean Manaea. I think he was on a 2-year deal though, but I think they'll be mini sellers, not obviously as big of a sellers as they were last trade deadline, but I'm more down on this team than I was a couple of weeks ago when I said that I thought they would be in contention for a wild card spot. I think they're going to be kind of hovering around 500 for the rest of the year. I just don't really see much with this Mets team.
Tampa's 20-21, 6-4. Randy's had a bad start to the year, but Isaac Paredes has probably been the brightest spot off that team. Yandy Diaz, who was an all-star first baseman, is not hitting great at all. He has been a shell of himself from last year. But, I mean, it's just hard for a team like Tampa, in my opinion. They're in the hardest division of baseball in the East. You know, last year they really benefited off a soft schedule. And if you look at the metrics, they haven't been able to do. They're like they haven't done what they did last year, which is what Minnesota is doing this year. Minnesota kills teams under 500 that are below their comp. They kill all the teams under them. But then when they play the good teams, they are 500. They're bang average. So, and then that's what Tampa hasn't done. And I mean, they haven't had the arms in the rotation. Sean McClanahan's hurt, no Glass now, but they're getting healthy. Shane Baz is has had a couple of rehab starts, and Taj Bradley pitched on Friday. And I know you watched his start on Friday.
Yeah, I think the Rays are going to start turning around, and they kind of have. I know the Yankees won the series, but I saw some things with the Rays that I like, particularly the fact that Randy Arozarena is turning it around. 4 home runs in May with an OPS over 1,000. He's been turning it on 0.5 Fangraphs WAR in the month. So once he gets going, I think this team will start to turn it around, and I think they'll be in that mix for a wild card spot. I don't think they'll push for the division. Pepio got hurt with a comebacker last week. He's on the injured list. Shouldn't need too much time on there though. Should be back for once his time runs up on that list just after 15 days. Ben Rortved's been okay from a catching perspective. Johnny DeLuca I kind of like coming over from that Tyler Glasnow trade. He's been solid for them. So it's going to be like a bunch of random names as it always is for the Rays. Right now they're a game under 500, but I think lots of speed. I think the talent is there, and they're going to get healthy. That they'll be around 80 wins, I think, 85 wins.
My Detroit Tigers are struggling. My team, they just can't hit. I mean, we might have to have an investigation. They may be fully torqued down, as some people's fantasy teams are right now, fully torqued down. It's tough. They just can't hit. I mean, the rotation's been decent. Kent Manaea is doing well right now, and so is Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, the rotation's good. Flaherty has been a strikeout machine. They're 10th in starting ERA, 5th in WHIP, 4th in walks per 9, 5th in strikeouts per 9. But they just can't hit. 23rd in average, 24th in OPS, 22nd in home runs. Riley Green's been their best player. He's been really solid for them this season. But Torkelson has been just abysmal. Mark Hanna has been okay. Colt Keith hasn't really lived up to the expectations to that contract that he got. Javier Baez is, not good.
Yeah, I see some positive things out of Javi this weekend. I watched the Houston series. I see there's positives. He is making contact, and it's sad because he's one of the funnest baseball players to watch. I was watching compilations on Instagram reels of Javi Baez. Like, oh my God. You know how
you were getting too nostalgic with it.
Why? I was like
because even you were sending me these clips of Javier Baez on when he was on the Cubs, and you were like, "Man, Javier Baez, he was different. I miss Cubs era Javier Baez." We were saying the same things about Javier Baez when he was on the Cubs as
what reels? But I sent you more than Javi Baez reels.
You were sending me like Javier Baez reels with like that song from Fast and Furious, "When I See You Again," like that type of energy.
I sent you I sent you a Morel one. They were all Latin music. It's like, you know how NBA and football players do like training videos in the off season, like in the gym. That's what I was sending you, like clips.
I know,
but you know how bad it got.
You sent me I can't even like Who was it?
You know how bad it is? Like, the thing about Reels is that it can show such a bad representation of who you are as a player. I literally sent you Johan Camargo tape.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I was going to send you Christian Pache tape.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
One note on Baez, they came out with that new stat, swing length. Javier Baez has the longest swing length in the league at 8.7. I am assuming that's in feet, 8.7 feet. It wouldn't be inches. So, yeah, he has the longest swing in the big leagues. And obviously, he does a lot of swinging and missing.
Size does matter there. That's, you know.
So, you guess who has the shortest swing?
Luisa Reyes.
Yeah, 5.9.
Yeah, that's
second
tough.
Second shortest is Bryce Terang.
That's tough. Oh yeah, Bryce Terang and Ahmed Razar have struggled as of late. So.
But no, Bryce Terang has been incredible. He's second in the league in stolen bases.
260, 250 right now in the past.
I wish I had Bryce Terang on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
wish I didn't trade him.
Oh, well. Let's rapid fire these teams right now.
Okay.
San Diego, Texas, and Boston. Which team are you taking out of those three?
You know, I think I'm going to do. I like the Padres.
I like Boston.
I think San Diego has the star power in the lineup, and that rotation has been very, very nice. Yu Darvish has been great since he came back on the IL. Dylan Cease has quietly gone out to San Diego and been a Cy Young contender. I mean, you know that firsthand because he's on your team, your fantasy team. He's been great. And they just beat the Dodgers in a series. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Game over 500. I like the Pods, man, and they're not going to win the division because LA obviously will. But if they sneak into the playoffs, that's not a team I want to play. You know, Joe Musgrove is on the injured list with, I believe it's elbow inflammation, so he might be done. But they're playing nice baseball right now in San Diego.
They got Robert Suarez as a closer. He's been one of the quietly underrated closers in the league. And then they also have Jackson Mill's been doing great. Xander Bogaerts has been awful, though. Been hitting 212 in the 200s, low 200s as of late.
He'll get it going. He'll get it going. Trust me.
Oh, true. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy that.
Trust me. I'm telling you, talent
PR team's working overtime.
Yep.
There's Xander Bogaerts' PR team, but on the Padres, Michael King. I've been a Michael King fan. Man, Friday he pitched an immaculate start. That slider had 23 inches of break. I was like, that's enough for a lot of people.
He's been great. So I don't know. I like why are you going Boston in this scenario?
I like their pitching and Cora. I like Cora as a manager. I really do enjoy Cora's job up there, and I kind of feel like Boston has a lot of prospects coming up, and I feel like they're just a sleeping giant. They're like in the same mold as the Cubs. Like Cubs and Boston are in that same division, like spot where Boston has elite pitching, and so do the Cubs. They've taken a step up. You know, they have two of the top managers in baseball. It's just a matter of just piecing the right hitters in Boston, and for Chicago, it's just piecing the right bullpen together. Because man, that Chicago bullpen is awful.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Texas. They were in that mix as well.
Because what is Texas? They're dead. They're like they can't hit.
They can't hit. They're not dead. I mean, they're missing so many guys off their rotation right now too. You have to note that. Scherzer.
Yeah, I'm just saying they've just struggled so much. It's bad. So
Adolis has been really like statistically the worst hitter in baseball this month. But I mean, once they get hot, it's a scary lineup. It's a really deep lineup.
That division has been underwhelming. And that brings us to Seattle, which I mean, Seattle's I just don't trust their hitters at all. So that's all I can give you the takeaway. Their pitching's incredible, it's elite, but I just can't trust their pitchers.
That's what I have. I have first place, but they need to hit. J-Rod hasn't gotten going. He will get going. He plays better in the warm months, but pitching great, like you said. And, you know, if you're a Mariners fan, you probably hear this analysis about your team on every single podcast you listen to, but they can't hit right now. They're still in first place, which is great, but 6.5 games, though, you know, and Mariners fans know the Astros are coming. They know. So
go look at what Teoscar Hernandez is doing. They decided, let's get rid of Teoscar and go get Mitch Haniger. Look, I just feel like they cook hitters.
Teoscar Hernandez, 11 home runs on the season.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I'll admit that. I was wrong on that one.
Let's do a little central roundup. Kansas City, Minnesota, and Cleveland. What's your thoughts from Cleveland? By the way, their City Connects look decent.
I saw them play on Saturday. I really like those City Connects. They're one of my favorites. I wish the Clee in the middle was a little bit smaller, but I think they need to make that logo their primary. Guardians City Connects. I don't know if I can pull it up on the pod, but they're selling merch, and it's like those like they have the Guardian statues outside the stadium or outside the city. They kind of put that in like a circular logo, and I think it looks really clean. I think it looks a lot better than the baseball with the wings, and the Guardian, the G logo. If you go like Nike.com, they're selling merch with the logo. But yeah, I really like that. So it's an interesting thing because their lineup has improved over last year. Now, unfortunately, Stephen Kwan is injured right now. They were last in home runs last year. They're currently 8th. A lot of that is from Josh Naylor, who's having a really good breakout season. J. Ram's been good. Andres Jimenez, Will Brennan, no. Kyle Manzardo came up, played well in the game that I went at and I was at. But I'm a little worried about this lineup holding up over the course of a season. And definitely worried about the rotation holding up over the course of the season. They have a series in Texas this weekend or this week, which will be interesting. Then they play the Twins over the weekend, so the Twins could finally take control of the division, and we might have to admit that we were wrong about the Twins. But I'm a little worried about that rotation and lineup holding up. They got out to a hot start, but can they keep it up over the course of the season?
And we spoke about the Twins earlier, how it is. So I mean, they're hot. They're hot. They beat up on bad teams, and they're doing what they got to do. I just don't have much to say about the division. It's just who gets hot and who builds up wins. It's about who can stack up these wins right now.
I like the Royals. I mean, the Royals have Seth Lugo. They probably have the best 1-2 pitching rotation in that division with Reagans and Lugo right now.
And then they got Singer 3. Those 3, they probably
And they probably have the best position player in Bobby Witt Jr. in that division as well.
So are we buying Kansas City stock?
They're 25-17.
Hey, we've held like Roaring Kitty says, diamond hands. We've held that Kansas City stock since the start of the year. We bought those shares, and now it's doing like GME right now, going like crazy.
I mean, if the Royals weren't the Royals and say they were, if they were the Red Sox, would we be buying them right now? Probably, but they're the Royals, so they're kind of overlooked.
Yeah,
I really like what they're doing in Kansas City. They have an MVP candidate and they have a Cy Young candidate. So that division is open for grabs. If I had to guess, it's going to come down to Minnesota and Kansas City because I think Cleveland will fall off. Detroit's just not there yet with the bats, and Minnesota's been there, done that, and Kansas City has some real talent. I sent you a shirt with that Guardians logo. I put it in the chat.
How about Milwaukee? I mean, Milwaukee's Milwaukee, man. I don't know what to tell you about Milwaukee.
Well, thank you for that. Very great analysis. I mean, Milwaukee is finally doing what we've been asking them to do for years, and they're hitting the ball, which is funny. They trade Corbin Burns, but sign Rhys Hoskins, and all of a sudden they're arguably better than they were last year. 6th in average, 3rd in OPS, 6th in home runs, 3rd in stolen bases. The starting pitching has taken a step back, 17th in ERA, and 24th in strikeouts per 9. Freddie Peralta, Bryce Wilson, Colin Ray, Joe Ross, Robert Gasser. It's not a good rotation, but Bryce Strang's having a great year. William Contreras is an MVP candidate, which is crazy. Yelich has been hurt, but he's come back hot. Willie Adames has been great. Hoskins has been okay. Joey Ortiz, Jackson Churrio's been not great for them, but they're hitting the damn ball and they're actually fun to watch. So I really like the Brewers this year. They're actually fun to watch, and I think they have a really good team.
I like Wilson a lot. I like Freddie Peralta. I just want to see him just develop Jackson Chourio. There's Yelich is playing great. We'll see what they do. I mean, those Central teams are going to be pesky because one of these teams is going to go for it and going to go all chips in. So,
you see that logo? That logo I said, yeah.
I did see it. It looked pretty nice. I mean,
I think they should make that their permanent.
Yeah, City Connects have been plus minus in my opinion. Some have been great, some haven't. But final teams we got left. I don't feel we need to go through them that deep. Atlanta, They're just not hitting, but they're just bound to get hot, as we spoke about them last week. Do we agree?
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I also a little worried about their rotation behind Max Fried. Max Fried's been great, Cy Young candidate, but behind him, when you get to the playoffs, there's some major question marks, I think.
Charlie Morton. I trust Charlie Morton. Chris Sale. Just get one. Just get a starter. They'll do some Enron trade and pick up somebody for dirt cheap and make him into a super genius by the playoffs.
Acuna hasn't been good. He's turned it on a little bit. Austin Riley got hurt. Azuna's been their best hitter. Back half of the lineup's not great. Arcia, Darno, Kelnick, Ozzy Albies hasn't been like they just haven't been hitting, and I worry about the back half of the bullpen. Raciel Iglesias, who just picked up his 200th or 300th save. I think it was 200th. But like last year, they were first in pretty much every major offensive category, and right now they're 7th in average, 6th in OBP, 6th in OPS, 14th in home runs, 21st in stolen bases. I'm selling right now. Well, not a good time to sell because they're not playing good, but I just Braves. I don't think the Braves are going to win it this year. I'll say that.
I'm still buying. Trust me, I'm buying. I'm fine. I'm cool. Yeah, the one year that they don't dominate the postseason, the regular season of the year, they're just going to come out of nowhere and win the regular season.
Right in the postseason. Well, they lost Strider for the year, and I think that's a major loss.
I'm not too concerned. It's a loss, but I'm not too concerned. I'd rather get them hot late than early.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Yankees playing good ball.
Playing great ball. The rotation, I think the biggest story for the Yankees this season outside of Soto is the fact that the rotation is held up without Garrett Cole. Luis Hill, been electric. Stroman's been fine. Rodon's been fine. Nestor's been bad. But Clark Schmidt's been good too. So
hey, you love some heel, man. I love me some heel. I've been sending that on heel start days, and you're like probably like, what the hell am I getting sent every day?
Penn's been great. 2nd in bullpen ERA. 8th in average, 3rd in OBP, 4th in OPS. Judge is getting going. 2nd in home runs right now. Not Judge, but the team. Judge has been getting going. His season numbers actually aren't that bad anymore. So Soto, MVP candidate. The lineup kind of goes, the other guys like Rizzo, Glaber's been terrible, but Rizzo, Verdugo, they kind of, come and go in different patterns, which is good. I think the Yankees are good. It's just going to be tough because the Orioles are so good. It's going to be tough to keep up with them.
And that's perfect for the Orioles. I mean, the thing with the Orioles is that they've been playing well, but I still feel that their back half of the rotation, we've hammered this away and away and away. So the back half, not the rotation, but the bullpens has been really bad. The Craig Kimbrell's ability.
Well, they're 8th in bullpen ERA, so like the middle half, but Kimbrell is definitely a liability. Now, the rotation is a juggernaut. Kowser's been struggling a little bit, but Santander's killing it. O'Hearn, Mountcastle, Rushman, Gunner's 2nd in home runs, MVP candidate. They just sent down Heston Kjerstad. I mean, their AAA team is loaded. Jackson Holiday struggled, but he'll get called back eventually. Yeah, the rotation I like. Burns, Bradish, Irvin, Meads is back. Kramer has been good. I think it's actually a sneaky deep rotation. My question for you is, if you're Corbin Burns, do you go and just chase the biggest bag, or do you say, I'm 30 years old. I'm in a great situation right now in Baltimore. I should just resign. Even if it's maybe not the most money that I could possibly get, I want to be here in Baltimore and be on a really good team for a long time.
I'm pro player. Go get a bag.
I want to win. I want to pitch in the biggest games.
I do too, but it's life-changing money.
Who do you remember more all time, Derek Jeter or Robinson Cano?
Cano has a ring.
One chased the bag out in the West Coast. One stayed in New York.
That's awful. That's an awful comparison because Jeter was never going to leave the Yankees.
Well, I'm just saying
that's
which
such a
players
bad.
do you remember more?
This is such a bad comparison.
Who do you remember more, Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo?
Well, they both have fallen off a cliff.
Rizzo's been good this year. You're not watching.
Yeah, I am. But Chris Bryant was always the better Cub.
But where's Chris Bryant right now? He chased the bag and no one. I mean, he's forgotten.
What was he supposed to do? Where was he supposed to do? To stay in Chicago when they didn't want him and didn't want to pay him? He was a free agent. He signed the free agent when I think it was the COVID free agency.
Well, they traded him to the Giants first.
Holy crap, he was on the Giants. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Because they traded Javi to the Mets. And then Javi got the bag in Detroit.
I'm just saying, you remember more when you stay on a good team and you're pitching in the postseason year after year after year after year after year. It clouds your reputation. Like Carlos Correa maybe is thought more highly of because he was on those Astros teams that were so good for so long. Just saying. Makes a difference. Makes a difference.
No comment.
You have a chance to win multiple rings with the Orioles. I would $250 million versus $200 million. Like, does it really make a difference?
No comment.
Okay. Dodgers, they're sleep. I got the Dodgers, they're sleepwalking. The regular season doesn't matter for them.
Yeah. Bueller's cooked. I'm telling you right now, he's cooked.
Bueller's cooked, but their rotation can still be
elite
because you have Glasnow, Paxton, Yamamoto, and then you still have Kershaw coming back. You still have Kershaw coming back and Bobby Miller as well.
Gavin Stone,
maybe not as much, but Kershaw coming back after the summer, back half of the summer. Team, they're nasty. And we don't need to. I mean, I think it's best top half of the lineup in baseball for sure. I don't think that's
debatable. But then Philly beating up on bad comp. It is debatable.
Whatever. We talk about that too much. Philly's beating up on bad competition right now, but I still think they have arguably the best rotation in the sport. But yeah, I mean, if you go look at like who they've played, like it's a lot of series against the Rockies and the Marlins. But hey, Alec Boehm been great. Bryce Harper, MVP guy. Third in average, the team. Second in OPS, second in OBP, second in starting pitching ERA and WHIP, first in hits per 9 allowed, second in Ks per 9. Maybe we need to upgrade that bullpen at the deadline, but you can say that about most teams. Trey Turner got hurt, which is tough. But I think it's going to be, finally, like for so long we just wanted Philly to start out well, and they finally are. So they're finally going to push Atlanta for a division.
Remains to be seen if they can actually win the division.
Remains to be seen. That is very true. It's a long, long season, and we're only a month and a half in. But I like what Philly's done so far. Ranger Suarez has been great. He's pretty much just throwing fastballs. So shout out to him.
That pretty much wraps everything up we got today. I mean, let's go through our betting segment. Last week we both hit. Giants won. Giants ended up winning the series on Sunday, and Minnesota won the series yesterday, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm 4-1 on the year. You're 3-2. So let's get these winning ways going.
So I was gonna pick. I'm definitely not picking that because the game's going on. I'm taking Detroit this week over Arizona at the end of the weekend. Detroit got Scooble pitching and Jack Flaherty. So give me those two this week. Give me that series, the Friday-Sunday series. Detroit going and beating Arizona, and I think it's in Arizona, but I'm trusting that Scooble and Flaherty will carry. They got Miami right now. They should be able to get the bats hot against Miami. So
it's a good pick. Jarrett Scooble versus Ryan Nelson on Friday. Jack Flaherty versus Zach Allen on Saturday. That's a good matchup. And then Sunday, Matt Manning versus Jordan Montgomery.
So gotta win two.
I'm going with a cheeky parlay. Cheeky little parlay. Braves to win the series over the Padres. Padres are traveling from San Diego. They play Wednesday, off Thursday. Then they're in Atlanta on Friday night. You got Fried going versus Matt Waldron on Friday. I like that. Saturday is a great matchup. Yu Darvish going against Bryce Elder on Fox, 6 p.m. And then Sunday is Sunday Night Baseball. Randy Vasquez versus Reynaldo Lopez. I think I like both of these teams. I think they're both good. I like San Diego's pitching, but I think Atlanta just kind of has the travel advantage in that series. And I'm parlaying it with the Orioles over the Mariners this weekend as well. That is a 3-game set beginning on Friday. Seattle is traveling again eastwards. They're in KC, or they're playing KC Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they fly Thursday to Baltimore. And then they got Bryce Miller versus John Means on Friday. Luis Castillo versus Dean Kramer on Saturday. And then Sunday is George Kirby versus Corbin Burns, which is going to be a fun matchup. I think maybe Seattle has the pitching matchup advantage in the first 2 games, but third game is a toss-up. But I will say that I just don't think Seattle can hit that well, and the Orioles are a juggernaut, and I pick them to win any series that they're going to be playing at this point. Adley Rutschman has never been swept. The team has not been swept since Adley Rutschman has been on it. So I'm going with Baltimore over Seattle, parlayed with Atlanta over San Diego for my pick.
Team of the week?
Yeah, you got it.
Catcher, Willson Contreras, hitting on a tear. First baseman, we're taking Vladdy Guerrero. He had a week.
Wait, you have honorable mention Ryan Jeffers, which we didn't really talk much about the Twins, but they've been playing great baseball.
Good baseball.
Matt Kepler,
yeah.
Jeffers has like double-digit home runs already. They're getting hot.
Yeah. Andy Ibanez at second base. Honorable mention IKF for Toronto. That Toronto-Minnesota series just went nuts. Isaac Paredes at third base for Tampa. Shortstop Jeremy Pena. Honorable mention Paul DeJong, who's had a great week. Eddie Rosario was hitting nukes in the outfield out for the Nats. Charlie Blackmon for Colorado, and Max Kepler with Davis Schneider probably being the best Blue Jay this year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Starting pitcher, John Gray. He's been going crazy for Texas. Zach Wheeler, honorable mention, and Garrett Crochet, who's pitched great as well for the White Sox. Michael King is also an honorable mention. Robert Suarez is your reliever of the week, with Luke Weaver as your second reliever of the week.
He's been great. He's been great in long relief for the Yankees.
Exactly.
He's been a product of that Matt Blake pitching development.
Yankees pitching lab, man. They got something in the water over there in New York.
Yeah.
Those rats, those New York rats. What are you telling me? So what are you telling me this week? What you got planned for this week? You got anything coming on the website? You got anything coming on the anything coming out soon? Any articles, any other podcasts coming out?
I don't think so this week. Maybe an article that I'm working on, but I don't know if I'll post it this week. But yeah, that was a fun pod. Good pod.
Stay tuned. Stay locked. Make sure you follow us on socials on Locked In Sports 0 on X/Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Locked In Sports Pod on Instagram and Locked In Sports Pod on YouTube. Until next week, watch some good baseball. Hopefully you watch some of the NHL. NHL's been cracking series right now. Better the NBA playoffs right now. You got the Rangers versus the Carolina Hurricanes in the background.
Sunday pod this week?
Yeah. Sunday, I don't have anything. I'll be good to go. I mean, we'll be back Sundays. I mean, we've had scheduling things come up, but now we're good to go. We're back on Sundays.
Consistently either Sunday or Monday. You know, we're keeping it consistent.
Consistent, man. We might not bat 1,000, but we'll consistently hit you a nice little 300. So,
but we'll have really good bat speed and square up percentages. And on that note, thank you all for listening. We'll be back on Sunday. Catch you then. Peace out.